I know young men, and I know as men, you grew up hearing boys don't cry, men don't cry, straighten up your back, come on, toughen up, tough it up, and move on. Hi, young man. How are you? Hope you're doing very, very well. The end of the year is almost here. We have a few weeks out and then it is over for 2021. How are you doing with your goals? Listen, click the link below. I have made a free resource just for you. I made it myself. It's an end of the year checklist. Just because the year is almost over doesn't mean you need to give up on yourself or your goals that you set for 2021. You still have time to achieve them. So click the link down below so you can get your free download of that checklist. How have you been? I hope you've been doing good. Listen, share this video with a fellow brother that you know will benefit from this. Make sure you like, comment down below about your thoughts on this video, and subscribe and turn on the notifications. I have something for you today. I want to get a little bit emotional because I am a woman and that is what I am. I am an emotional being. Women are more emotional than men. That is just how it is. It's biology. It's how God created it. And I want to use Kanye West as a symbol of today's video. Kanye West has recently been in the news. On the 25th, he released, I believe Thanksgiving. It was a Thanksgiving prayer. Last month, he released a Thanksgiving prayer where he was praying to God and also sharing some very, very vulnerable things that he was going through. He talked about his marriage. He talked about alcohol addiction. He talked about his ego and pride getting in the way. He talked about wanting his wife back and his family back. He talked about so much. He's also been in the news recently because he's been talking about how he wants to get back with Kim, how he wants to keep his family together, how he doesn't want to be separated, how even his children want his family to stay together, want him and Kim to stay together. So he's been talking about that a lot. And I thought I would talk about how important it is for you, young man, to be vulnerable. Now, listen, I know young men, and I know as men, you grew up hearing boys don't cry, men don't cry, straighten up your back, come on, toughen up, tough it up, and move on. And I do believe that there are times and places as a man for that. I don't believe as a man or as a young man, you should always be crying at the drop of a dime. You are a pillar of society. If you have a family, you are a pillar to your family, and you have to always be strong. I do believe that. But then there are moments where you do have to be vulnerable. You have to be emotional, and you should just let things out so it doesn't bottle up and stay inside you forever. And if you don't cry, you don't always have to cry in that way, show that kind of emotion to cry, to be vulnerable. You can express it to a friend, someone that you trust, someone that you know is not going to blackmail you or tell your business. You can do that and share your vulnerable side with someone that you really trust. You can journal and write things down or write it on your phone, how you're feeling. There are other and many ways for you as a young man to be vulnerable. And I want you to know it's important to be vulnerable. Suicide rates are up. I talked about this in the last video of last Thursday. Don't die, young man. Suicide rates are up. Depression is up. Fear is up. It's so much going on emotionally for you as a young man in today's times. And I want to let you know that you can't bottle everything up. Now, I do believe that there is a time and a place for being vulnerable. You may say, well, as a young man, it's not looked at as good to be vulnerable as a man. Girls won't take me seriously if I'm vulnerable. My wife won't take me seriously, or my girlfriend won't take me seriously if I'm vulnerable. You know, the people around me, my friends, my family, they'll just think I'm a baby. They won't take me seriously. They'll think I'm a simp. They won't take me seriously if I'm vulnerable. But that's why I gave you other options. You can journal. You can go to that one close friend, but you got to be vulnerable in some spaces. Find a safe space where you can be vulnerable. And I want to say, I believe that what Kanye West is doing is he's being vulnerable because he is a public figure. I don't think all the things that he's saying maybe, need to be shared to the public, but he is a public figure and it's going to be out anyway. But I do want to use him as an example of someone who is being vulnerable about the things he's experiencing, the trials, the tribulations in his life, and his desires for getting his family back together, or talking about his addictions, talking about his shortcomings in life. And you as a young man should use the example of Kanye West. Maybe not express yourself all on Facebook or Reddit or in your group that you're in. You don't have to, be on Instagram or TikTok or wherever telling your business like that, being vulnerable like that, unless you're led to. But I do suggest that you do have a time and place to be vulnerable, and be vulnerable with someone that you can trust, or write it down, journal it, maybe even get into therapy. You have to talk, because as I said, suicide is up, depression is up. Just the other day, the U.S. Department of Health or something like that, I'm saying it wrong, but he came out and said that this is a real concern amongst young people, because people are more depressed and suicide is going up like it's never been before. And so, young man, I just want to let you know that it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable with the right people as well. So if you don't have that circle that you can be vulnerable to, if you don't have anybody that you can trust, pray and ask God, send me someone that I can be vulnerable with, that I can be my true self with, that I can share my feelings with, that is not going to try to blackmail me or try to clown me when I tell them what I'm really feeling or what I'm really going through. Or give me the desire, God, to journal and write down my feelings on my phone, or write down my feelings on my, in a journal, in a book. But give me opportunities to be vulnerable outside of just being alone and having it and keeping all of your issues and concerns all in. So, young man, that's all I wanted to say today. It's okay to be vulnerable. Use Kanye West as an example. Like I said, you don't have to be public. You're not as public as Kanye, so you don't have to be, telling all your problems to everybody. But use him as an example, as a man who is okay with being vulnerable and taking accountability for himself. Take accountability for where you are in your life, and go ahead and be vulnerable with the right people. Get you a journal, get you some therapy, whatever you need, so that you can succeed, you can excel, you can let those emotions, those negative emotions out, those toxic emotions out. Okay? Jesus loves you, and so do I.